Good evening. How y'all doing this Friday? Hope everybody's doing good. Anyway, one day ago, mother sucker punched by a repeated offender in Chicago. My point is this. In this video, there have been 7 cases of sucker punches by repeated offenders within the last 13 similar incidents and everything this guy did. And he got free passes all the time. Why is that? Because the governor of Chicago, that sorry piece of shit Democrat, allowed these criminals to get by with shit. Trump, if you see this video, do us all a favor. Get rid of that Chicago mayor. The mayor of governor of Chicago. Treat him like a terrorist leader. Go in there, take him out. Don't kill him or anything. Just take him out of power completely. Because if y'all look at the news, this All Labor Day weekend alone, I think it was 13 something people got shot in Chicago. 13 alone in the holiday weekend. And everything. And it just shows you the complete bullshit that these Democrats are doing. But I know a lot of people say, oh, they ain't do it wrong. Every time there's a Democrat in power, people get hurt badly. And this repeated offender was sucker punching people 7 to 13 times. At least 13 similar incidents in his criminal history that he essentially got a free pass on. And my point is this. You can only blame the Democrats for all this shit. Okay? Every time they get in power, they do something wrong. And I know they're going to say, oh, it's white people do wrong. No. She did this. No. This is like the people in Cincinnati. The 2 white people got jumped brutally in Cincinnati. And what the governor did? And everything? Blame the white people for what happened. Gave the black individual a slap on the past. Here you go, good job. Well, they had a white person that did that to those 2 blacks. Say 20 to 30 white people jumping over 2 blacks like that. Roseverse. It'll have Coast Guard, police force, man, all that. It tells you how bad the freaking black entitlement is. These people right here give the black community a bad name. I hate to say that. I know that might sound racist and everything, but y'all gotta wake up and realize it only takes 2 idiots to make every single body look bad. Just like it takes 2 idiots in the white community to make all the whites look wrong. I'm sorry, but you can take a pig out of mud, but you can't make it right there. They like to say you can put makeup on a pig, but it's still gonna be a pig. Or always saying like this. You take the country girl out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the girl. Well, Barry, out here's my opinion. You can't take a Democrat out of a dumbass. You can't take dumbass out of a Democrat. This is how it is. But let's get to the video here and let y'all see what y'all gotta think.
1 day a week. Today she's still suffering the consequences of that random attack, but it is what she found out about the person who prosecutors say did it that has led her to speak out.
You know, I genuinely don't want to depress you guys out there in the audience by covering stories from these major left-wing cities that all follow the same pattern, recommending the same solutions, only for them to never be implemented and just to see them happen all over again. And this story out of the city of Chicago is a perfect example of what we're talking about. In this particular case, you have a woman, a mother who actually lives in the suburbs, only has to show up to the office in the city of Chicago 1 day a week. Other days she works home remotely. She ends up going to a populated portion of the city on her way to work, only to be sucker punched by a random individual who turns out to be a serious, ongoing, well-documented threat in the city of Chicago that the system has bent over backwards in order to give him slaps on the wrist. However, this story might be a little bit different because this comes at a time when currently the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, is at war, at least rhetorically, with President Evil Orange Man Donald J. Orange Man Bad Trump over whether or not the president president should deploy the National Guard to the city of Chicago, much like he's done in the District of Columbia,
He fucking
in order
should.
to drive down criminality. Now, of course, Brandon Johnson is outraged at this.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers? Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. To stand firm, to stand strong.
Hold on, did you say the land that slaves built? FYI, Mayor of Chicago, y'all didn't have no fucking slaves in that time period. Wow. The dumbass Democrats strike again. Oh my lord, not surprising to me. Wow. Look at some comments. Punch a 15-year-old while on probation, not getting you put back in prison is a wild man. 13% of the sucker throwing 80% of the punches. Here's another head count that would be racist. Ben Johnson should be arrested for dealing or duty. Yeah, Ben Johnson, you should be in jail. Jury record not included. He has done this his whole adult life. Hate crime, yes, it is a hate crime. That's another question. Why can't the victims sue the city? Simple reason why. Because of the Democrat owned. And if you white, you stand up or say something out, they won't put you down or kill you. His victims were the wrong color for him to be taken seriously. That's perfectly true right there. That had been a white person done to a black lady. Locked up instantly. The judge needs to be arrested too. For not keeping public staff safe. Judge duty. Anyone else sick of these criminals being protected? I sure was. My point is just right here. They do that right with repeat offenders. Don't let them arrest them. Find your tree. String them up. Problem solved. Or line up a wall. Bow bow. 21 gun shoot to the back of their heads. Simple. If you're a criminal, repeat offender, keep getting locked up, keep getting attack on us, string them up. We didn't have this problem back then, back in like 1885, 1886, 1877, and 1788. Didn't have that problem. We had a lot of crime, but start doing public execution, they stopped the shit. Here's another. If the race has been reversed, YouTube will have no problem showing the terrifying injustice. 50 people shot, 7 are alive during Labor Day weekend. Oh, Chicago is in a state of emergency. 15 times he was caught, meaning at least 100% crimes he was not. Are you seeing a pattern? Are y'all getting what I'm saying? Are y'all seeing the pattern is being exposed? When there is Democrats in power, shit hits the fan. Repeat that. With Democrats in power, criminals do what the hell they want. Victims don't have no say. When there's Republicans in power, shit gets right. Shit gets done. Shit gets right. Why is that? Because we Republicans don't play this bushy shit around with these damn criminals. But the Democrats brainwashed the black community for 200-something years saying Republicans are racist, Republicans are racist. If the Republicans are racist, why is it back in 1923 Republicans helped black people start Wall Street for their own self? Or started food stamps for them? Or government welfare? All that, what y'all say, y'all thought was by Democrats, was actually by Republicans who fixed all this. Black Wall Street was started by white Republicans. Helped blacks out. Food stamps started by Republicans. Welfare was by Republicans. But Democrats stretch out the thing and be like, they done it. So we could be the bad guys for y'all. Keep voting for them for the next 200-something years. They've been proven facts. When the Democrats get what they want, you don't hear nothing about anything. They don't go to the black communities. They don't help out the black folks when they say they promise to do it. Wake up, people, and realize the Democrats are using y'all. This is a prime example. He's the governor or the mayor of Chicago. He should be taking care of this. Like one person says, Gucci is black entitlement. I gotta give the person her Democratic location. There is no good chance she voted for this unfairness. Here, meanwhile in UK, people are being jailed for Facebook posts. Imagine my shock when I saw her attacker was black. Not so shocking. It's always like that when Democratic people in power. This is your Democratic voters. My shock is immense, and my surprise is all inclusive. Mayor Brandon, slaves built this city. Chicago, the North. Or does he just think all black people were slaves? Sound like to me, these Democrats ain't all there. They don't know their fucking history. The judge and DA should be forced to house any of these criminals they release in their own home. I agree with that. Needs to make a petition to take away immunity from after a judge or DA release someone with multiple violations. My opinion, you have multiple violations and you keep getting locked up, keep getting free. No more. Automatic death penalty. That'll stop all this shit. Automatic death penalty. No more getting a slap on the wrist. No more spending time. Automatic death penalty. That'll stop all your problems. Back to the video.
Johnson has made it absolutely clear that he is willing to do absolutely anything to prevent those troops from coming in to his city in order to override his authority. And when I say absolutely anything, of course I give the caveat, anything but hold criminals accountable, anything but hire more police officers, anything but solve the underlying issue that would cause this deployment. But I also think it would behoove me to give you my position on whether or not the National Guard should be deployed to the city of Chicago, because while this might be surprising to some of you, my answer is actually no. They should not be deployed at the president's will against the will of the governor, because in reality, unlike the District of Columbia, which is a federal territory and has the Home Rule Act, the president does not actually have the authority outside of specific emergency situations to deploy the National Guard to do law enforcement on the local level. And I think it would be a mistake for him to do so, because you'll end up getting limited by the courts beyond what you expected. And the president really should focus on the continued efforts in the District of Columbia to compare and contrast that to somebody like Pritzker, who refuses to do so in the city of Chicago, and Brandon Johnson, who of course is supporting the repeat release of these violent criminals. Now, with all that being said, I want to get into this specific story, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
He hit me with such force.
Sitting at home in Lake Villa today, Kathy Miles admits the last thing she remembers before her attack on August the 19th is walking past Block 37 in the Loop on the way to Union Station.
I woke up and my coworker was standing above me saying, "You're okay, we're in the hospital, you've been assaulted."
She then passed out again.
The next thing I remember is my daughter Deanna saying, "Hi Mama, I'm here, you're okay."
Imagine being a mother on your way to work in a populated area in a major metropolitan city where it's ridiculously expensive to live, possibly too expensive for you personally to live because you live in the suburbs, and then all of a sudden, without any memory of what went down, you end up waking up in pain in the hospital with a coworker standing over you. The coworker tries to explain what happened to you, only for you to pass out again, wake up the very next day to your child standing over you, and of course you're looking at the absolutely horrified look on their face based on your significant injuries. And to be clear, what you're seeing right now is the healed version of this woman's face, or the healing version. And if you go to the local news segment in the description of this video, you can actually see for yourself the extent of the damage. Now, YouTube has added a new policy that prevents me from showing you that, claiming that this is the violent aftermath and therefore it's not suitable, and they'll suppress this video as they did a previous video on this channel if I do. So you'll you'll have to do that if you want to see it, but make no mistake about it, her injuries were extensive, they were horrible, but more importantly, they were preventable.
While she doesn't remember what happened, a colleague who was walking with her at the time told her this.
She had said this man came in between the two of us, shoved us apart, and then hit me in the face.
That punch left Miles with several broken bones in her face, as well as a concussion.
So as described by the local news media, this woman, the victim of this heinous attack, doesn't have any memory of this. However, her coworker describes what went down, which is as they were crossing the street near Union Station, an individual decided to walk up to them, push them apart, and then sucker punch this woman. And the suspect that the police are saying is guilty of this, but as of right now, it is alleged, is a man called William Livingston, age 32. And by the way, normally I would consider this a potential variant of the knockout game. However, based on his age, based on the fact that you don't have the crowd around him, this appears to be just a violent individual with a lengthy criminal history that we're going to get into in just a little bit, who has been given chance after chance after chance, despite the fact that his criminal record shows that he is prone to attack women in this exact way and has been doing so for a very long time.
According to police, she was assaulted by 32-year-old William Livingston. A record search produced 13 mugshots of Livingston going back to 2012. A large number of those arrests for aggravated assault and battery of both women and police officers, something Miles found out after the fact.
Like, what is enough? You know, what does someone have to do where he's going to be, they're going to be held accountable?
So the local news media ends up pulling up 13 different mugshots for this individual, and all of these mugshots are related to crimes that are extraordinarily similar to the one that he is accused of right now. And I will also remind you that while the mother, the victim in this case, is absolutely horrified by the fact that he has been given chance after chance after chance, this is not surprising because prior to the new Cook County District Attorney taking office this year, you had Kimberly Fox in that position, and she ran on a soft on crime, we're not going to prosecute anyone for anything kind of thing, and the bulk of this guy's criminal tenure, which of course includes attacking women and children, little girls in some of these instances, was not prosecuted deliberately as a campaign promise by Kimberly Fox, and these are the disastrous results. I don't know about you guys, but I think if you assault women, if you assault individuals, if you insult children over and over and over again, then maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't get 13 plus chances from the district attorney's office. Maybe we should finally say, you know what, you might be one of those serious ongoing threats to society, somebody that we need to incapacitate, and likely what we need to do is actually incarcerate you as a consequence. But of course, Brandon Johnson is of the same ilk as Kimberly Fox was in the Cook County Prosecutor's Office, so they constantly recommended diversion programs, anger management, midnight basketball, and all sorts of ways to help this individual escape accountability, despite the fact that he showed you over and over and over again exactly who he was and that he was going to do this again. And if you don't believe me, listen to some of the sentences that this guy got for, again, 10 plus offenses.
According to online records, Livingston's history of random acts of violence against women goes back 8 years. In 2017, he was accused of randomly attacking 2 women months apart. Both cases were dropped. In 2022, Livingston was sentenced to 5 years in prison after prosecutors said he punched and attempted to rob 4 women within 20 minutes in the Loop. And yet, just 14 months later, in 2023, while on parole, Livingston was arrested for hitting a woman in the face on North Michigan Avenue.
Again, the Kimberly Fox connection cannot be ignored because all of the crimes against women that were highlighted within the window by the local news media from 2017 to 2024 were committed while Kimberly Fox was the head of the Cook County District Attorney's Office. So she's the one who prosecuted or didn't prosecute, if we're being real, each and every one of those crimes. And the one real prison sentence that appears to be legitimate in there is that 5-year bid that he was sentenced to in 2022. However, that's a 5-year bid for 4 separate aggravated robberies where he beat the crap out of women in order to take their stuff within a 20-minute time period. And even that 5-year sentence allowed him to be released at a comically low amount of time, 14 months later on parole, to which he reoffended, where he should have been sent back to prison to serve out the remainder of his 5-year sentence. However, his parole was not violated by Cook County's District Attorney's Office because Kimberly Fox thought he was an innocent Baba Angel Aladdin who didn't do anything wrong. That's right, guys. When you see a guy punch multiple women in the face in order to rob them in a 20-minute time period, what you're supposed to think of, according to Brandon Johnson and Kimberly Fox, is that wonderful song from that Aladdin movie, Riff Raff, Street Rat. You're not supposed to buy that, you're supposed to steal it, because honestly, what we need to do is look a little closer at this innocent Baba Angel Aladdin, because what we actually realize is that he has a heart of gold, according to these absolute idiots. Now, of course, the reality is this guy's a thug. He's a repeat offender. He might have a mental issue that, by the way, does not get better when you release him back onto the streets over and over and over again. And this woman who suffered multiple broken bones in her face, suffered a concussion, could have easily died as a consequence of this. And in reality, there is no expectation that he won't get another slap on the wrist, even though this is now his 14th arrest. His 14th time encountering the criminal justice system, 9th year encountering it for specifically attacking women, and by the way, his sentences after the 5-year sentence, which should have been a violation of his parole when he reoffended, ended up getting even shorter and more absurd.
And in 2024, he was sentenced to 100 days in prison after punching a 15-year-old girl, also on North Michigan Avenue.
I mean, guys, think about how stupid this is. The guy should have been charged in such a way where you kind of got a 20-year sentence for his previous assaults, because it was 4 different robberies committed within 20 minutes, but instead, he gets released early on parole, and then he punches a 15-year-old, and rather than violating his parole, they sentence him to 100 days in jail. Again, he's already supposed to be in prison, and they're like, that's not really a thing that we're all that concerned about. Now you're punching younger women, more vulnerable people in the same area. Why don't we just send you to jail for 100 days? But also, you're probably in lockup awaiting trial, so that's really just time served. So why don't we just release you back out onto the streets, as long as you kind of promise, but not even really do that, to not do it again. Maybe if you say I'm sorry and you promise to go to anger management and you never actually show up, we'll just let bygones be bygones. Oh crap, he already knocked out another woman. Geez, I guess we have to implement some more social workers in and around this area.
I'm not going to let someone speak for me. I need to speak for myself. I need to say something. If I say nothing and he does this to another person, I'm going to feel bad.
Look, I really do appreciate Kathleen for coming forward and trying to make sure that this guy suffers consequences so this doesn't happen again. But in reality, even though the state's attorney that is currently in office is significantly better than Kimberly Fox, we can expect this guy to be released, to reoffend, for the system to enable him up until the point where he eventually kills someone. So yeah, it is more likely than not that this guy is going to be out onto the streets. He's gonna attack another woman. They range from being a mother to a teenager. It doesn't matter to him. And eventually, he's gonna knock somebody out cold, dead to the ground with a sucker punch, and they're not going to get up. And at that point in time, we're going to see a serious sentence for a murder, and they're gonna be like, well, we took care of this, hats off to us, give us our flowers, congratulate us, when in reality, this would have been a preventable murder, the crime in the future. I mean, so many of these assaults were preventable if he was just in prison, not even based on his original 5-year sentence, but based on his multiple offenses after he was paroled. Then a bunch of these crimes would have never happened. But guess what? They don't learn lessons over there. Brandon Johnson is over here on TV at MSNBC dodging questions about whether or not Chicago, which has an understaffed police department, would benefit from hiring more officers.
I'm curious, would you also like to get federal funding to help put 5,000 more cops on the street in Chicago? Would that help drive down crime?
Well, look, policing by itself is not the full strategy.
No, I understand that. You talked about the other things you want, and I said those are good and important programs, but I'm asking also, Would 5,000 more police officers on the street in Chicago be helpful to go along with all of those social programs that a lot of cities are engaging in and having success with?
Well, look, here's the best way I can put it, Joe, is that in the 90s when I was in high school, we had 3,000 more police officers and we had 900 people being murdered every single year in Chicago. It's just not policing alone. Of course, we want more detectives.
I know it's not policing alone, but I know it's not policing alone. You've told me everything else you want. I'm curious, and this does come down to an ideological difference between people. Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing. Look,
Okay,
I'm not saying...
So yeah, while my heart goes out to Kathleen, and I really do genuinely hope that she gets justice, I hope the current Cook County prosecutor takes this case seriously. This is why we're trying to shine some more attention on it. I'm not all that optimistic about the city of Chicago, and I think that it's just going to get significantly worse. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about yet another sucker puncher with 13 previous arrests getting away with it. Till next time.
I say this a lot. This video is about one of the worst mayors in America today. Like, for instance, she says she needs to fly first class for thousands of dollars because she's a black woman and it's unsafe for black women to fly coach. I am not joking.
She insists that flying coach is unsafe for black women. Here's the quote.